Hey, Broncos fans! The draft is just around the corner, and the excitement is building as we get closer to one of the most pivotal moments of the year. With less than 3 weeks to go, it's time to break down where the Broncos stand and what we can realistically expect. This year, things are looking interesting at pick number 20. There's a lot of speculation, ranging from the most exciting dream scenarios to more cautious projections. Let's take a deep dive into the possibilities for the Broncos in this year's draft. First up, imagine this: the Broncos picking up Tyler Warren at number 20. If that happens, it would be a game changer. Although the team recently signed Evan Engram to a 2-year deal, having Warren fall to number 20 would be a golden opportunity. This kind of pick would demonstrate not just a push to add more talent, but also a long-term strategic vision at a position that's notoriously tough to master in the NFL. Warren, with his impressive size and athleticism, could learn from Engram for a year or two, potentially setting the Broncos up for years of success at tight end. He's got massive upside, a rare blend of strength, speed, and raw potential. If this pick happens, it could pay off big time once Engram's contract runs out. But what if this scenario doesn't unfold? No worries, because the backup plan is just as exciting. Amarian Hampton, the powerful running back from UNC, has been a popular pick for the Broncos in several mock drafts. Standing at 6 feet 0 inches and weighing 221 pounds, Hampton runs a blistering sub 4.540. He's a perfect mix of power and speed, and the Broncos have been missing a reliable, consistent force in the backfield for too long. Ever since the days of Philip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon, the position has felt like a revolving door. Hampton could be the answer the Broncos have been searching for to finally stabilize the running game. Amarian Hampton could be the answer to the Broncos' search for a true 3-down workhorse, someone to build the offense around and provide the physicality and explosiveness that's been missing in recent years. He's exactly the type of player who could bring balance and power to the backfield. However, with every high comes the possibility of a low. In this draft scenario, the worst-case outcome in the first round would be Luther Burden. There's no questioning Burden's athleticism or his ability to make plays after the catch, but selecting him at number 20 would carry some risk. His route tree is still developing, and his dip in production last season, regardless of quarterback play, raises some concerns. If you're picking a wide receiver in the first round, that player needs to be able to produce regardless of the quarterback situation. You need someone who can adapt to any circumstances. If a college QB injury impacts a receiver's season, how will that player adjust to the demands of the NFL? For the Broncos, Burden doesn't feel like the ideal pick at this point in time. Turning to round 2, the dream scenario continues with Caleb Johnson. If the Broncos were to land both Tyler Warren and Caleb Johnson back-to-back, fans would have every reason to celebrate. Johnson's tape is impressive. He thrives in tough situations, such as running against stacked defenses where everyone knows the ball's coming his way. Despite that, he still managed to put up 1,500 yards and average over 6 yards per carry. He's built similarly to Hampton, though he may not have quite the same straight-line speed. But once he's in full stride with the pads on, Johnson plays like he's clocking a 4.2 in the 40-yard dash. He's a dynamic weapon who could make an immediate impact. With the Broncos needing playmakers, Johnson is certainly a name to keep a close eye on. On the more grounded side of round 2, Alfred Collins brings some serious size and strength to the defensive line. At 6 feet 6 inches and 330 pounds, he's an absolute force. But don't be fooled. Collins isn't just a space eater. He has surprising mobility for a player of his size and has shown flashes of being a disruptor in the trenches. With DJ Jones and Malcolm Roach getting older, it would be wise for the Broncos to add some youthful energy to their defensive front. While Collins may not be known for piling up sacks, he can collapse the pocket, put pressure on quarterbacks, and dominate against the run. This would be a solid foundational pick for the Broncos. As for the potential draft pitfall in round 2, that would be Darius Alexander. While his production at Toledo, 3.5 sacks and 37 pressures, has been solid, the level of competition and his lengthy 6-year college career raise some questions about his long-term potential at the NFL level. By the time a player reaches year 6, the question arises: has he truly developed into a dominant force, or is he just overpowering younger, less experienced players? This is a concern when it comes to Darius Alexander. While he has shown flashes, he's also a bit undersized compared to other elite defensive tackles. It's not that Alexander is bound to be a bust, it's more that Denver has better options with this pick, especially considering the depth of talent available on the defensive line in this draft. Round 3 opens up new possibilities, and if the Broncos can secure Omar Norman-Lott, it would be another win for the team. Norman-Lott specializes in interior pass rush, the type of speed and explosiveness up the middle that forces quarterbacks to panic. His limited snaps are a concern, but when he's on the field, he's undeniably disruptive. Ranked number 1 in Pro Football Focus's pass rushing productivity metric, Norman-Lott knows how to make an impact. Standing at 6 feet 2 inches and 290 pounds, he's not the biggest player, but his leverage and technique help him outmaneuver blockers. In a rotational role to start, he could evolve into a serious pass rushing threat for the Broncos. If the board doesn't fall in that direction, a solid third-round option would be Terrence Ferguson, the tight end from Oregon. Ferguson brings solid receiving skills and has a great rapport with quarterback Bo Nix. With Evan Engram already signed, Ferguson wouldn't need to carry the load right away. While he might not be the most flashy name on the board, he's a smart, safe pick who fills a need and offers upside without the Broncos having to reach for a player. Finally, a potential draft pitfall in round 3 could be Jaden Blue. On paper, Blue isn't a terrible running back, standing at 5 feet 9 inches and 196 pounds, with good athleticism and receiving ability, but his college career at Texas was inconsistent. With multiple fumbles and a reputation for disappearing in key moments, he's not the type of back the Broncos would want to rely on. If Denver misses out on top-tier running backs earlier in the draft, settling for Blue would feel like a reach, especially when there are better options likely still available. So, Broncos country, what do you think? If you had to choose between Tyler Warren or Amarian Hampton at pick 20, who would you go with? And what would your dream first 3 rounds look like? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what your ideal draft for 2025 looks like. As we continue with this draft breakdown, let's dive into strategy, depth, and how the Broncos can approach the mid to late rounds with a purpose rather than just filling roster spots. It's one thing to nail your first round pick. It's a whole other level to come out of the top 3 rounds with 3 future starters, or at the very least reliable long-term contributors. This year, the Broncos actually have a real shot at doing just that, if they play their cards right and avoid the common pitfalls. Let's circle back to Omar Norman-Lott for a moment because he deserves some more attention. What sets Norman-Lott apart from other defensive tackles isn't just his pass rushing potential, it's the efficiency of his pass rush. He's not just hunting for sacks, he's creating constant chaos in the backfield. Disruption equals production, and Norman-Lott has it in spades. His ranking in PFF's pass rush productivity metric is no accident. This stat doesn't just measure highlight plays, it tracks consistency, and that's exactly what Norman-Lott delivers. For a team that needs to rattle quarterbacks in a division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, Norman-Lott is the kind of pick that could make a significant difference in shifting the balance of power. But let's say the Broncos go offense heavy early and Norman-Lott is off the board by round 3. Terrence Ferguson starts to look like an even more intriguing option. The Broncos are in need of weapons, plain and simple. Sean Payton's offense thrives when there are mismatch creators at tight end, and Ferguson is exactly that. He's not just a blocker, he's a legitimate receiving threat, especially down the middle of the field. Ferguson set Oregon's all-time record for touchdowns by a tight end with 16. He didn't just rack up stats against weaker competition, he did it in a high-powered offense, developing strong chemistry with quarterback Bo Nix along the way. If the Broncos decide to draft a quarterback early, and if Bo Nix is still in the mix, adding a familiar target in Ferguson would be a smart move. Now, regarding running backs, it's time to talk about positional value. Some might argue that taking a running back in the first round is more of a luxury than a necessity. But when you look at the Broncos' recent history at the position, it tells a different story. Consistency has been lacking, injuries have piled up, and there's been no real identity in the backfield. That's a serious problem year after year. So let's wrap this up with the big question. If you had to pick one player at each of the first 3 picks, one dream pick, one realistic option, and one worst case scenario. Who would you choose? Drop your 3 names in the comments and tell me your reasoning. Who are you all in on, and who are you hoping the Broncos avoid? I'll see you in the next breakdown, and hey, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button if you're ready to see the Broncos finally crush this draft. Let's ride.